here's another of the Morley duos then. This is La Rondinella, the swallow. We're going to look at the treble parts, the top line of the two, and then I will play you the tenor part to play along with. So the swallow, it's going to be full of lots of swooping and flying and very small, delicate but flighty birds. Let's have a go then. I'll count you half a bar in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just going to stop there a second, otherwise we'll be halfway through the piece before we've thought about anything at all. So I reckon you need to start on a forward bow, because I think the shape of those first two notes is strong, weak. So we need to bow it that way round. And you've just got to watch that that little crotchet at the beginning of a second bar doesn't stick out, because we need the next note to be a new start. So a weak little crotchet at the start of bar 2. Here we go. 1, 2. It's basically okay, isn't it, up till there? You can play it in half position, F naturals, B flats. In the third bar, just make sure that on the octave leap that you hold the F at the bottom. If you keep that finger on it, that will be nice and resonant while your bow goes looking for that top string. And the automatic thought, as soon as you head for a note that's high on the treble, do not think, oh my word, this is high and perhaps it's going to squeak because it's a treble, and that's what happens when you get to the top string. Rubbish. If you get near the bridge and you use plenty of bow and you don't panic and you don't put too much pressure on, it'll be glorious. So as soon as you see it coming, hardly play that bottom note, but you think bridge, 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 bridge. Just make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance that you can of getting that top note to speak really clearly. Let's do the top once more with the aim of going on when we get to 5 this time. 1, 2. Bridge. I'm just going to stop there actually, because in bar 5 or in bar 6 even, at the C at the very bottom of that, I think is a really weak note. Strong, weak. And then the top C, much stronger. And again, you can just kind of float the bow on that bottom one and leave it quite early so that you're absolutely on time and really well connected to the string for the top C. Now we've got a bowing problem, because we've been the right way round quite nicely until here. If we keep bowing this out, the top F comes on a back bow, but it's a strong note. And then the little crotchet here comes forward. This is okay. This is horrible. This is all horrible. And basically everything's backwards. So it's a difficult passage, this, because if we make one correction, we're going to need to make at least one more later. So I've tried several things in here, and I almost decided just to bow it through and live with it. But there were just one or two too many places where it felt awkward. So the best solution I've come up with is, for the moment, and I might change my mind tomorrow, so you've got to try some of these things out and see what you think. But in bar 7, I think after the bottom F, it's a weak little note. There's an enormous string cross. There's loads of time. It's a really good place to put a correction in the bowing. So I would start the top F on another forward bow. And I don't mean to retake it, I don't mean... There isn't time and there's no need either. It's a tiny crotchet, it doesn't use any bow. So just carry on from where you are. But a new forward bow on the top F in 7. And if we go on from there, all of this is now a really nice way round. All the longer notes and the G, the dotted G in 8. They all come a much nicer way round in the bowing. So I think it's worth doing that. Forward bow on the top F in bar 7. There's one fingering thing to think about after that. 2 fingering things, in fact. This is bar 8. So after you've played the C, you need a second finger for the G. It's a rubbish sound. I know the treble fingerboard is very small, and people think sometimes I haven't got space to do that, the chordal fingering that I would do on a bass. There's so much more space on a bass fingerboard. The thing is, if you bar with a third finger, one of your notes is going to be really clean, and the other, it's not a great finger for barring with. You're in the curved part of the fingerboard with a finger that just doesn't quite have that same amount of strength in it as the first finger. They're fatter, aren't they, the middle fingers? So there's less bone and you get a less good sound. So I really do think it is worth chordal fingering, even on a tiny treble. That's in bar 8. So the G would be a second finger. And then in here, in 9, you might decide that you want the A on the same string. So that from the F it would be 1, 2, 4. I quite like that. I don't mind the open A string, as you wish, but there's something quite nice about having all of that on one string. So 1, 2, 4 from the F in bar 9. Shall we play from 5 after the crotchet rest in bar 5? So I'll count you 2 and a bit beats in. 1, 2, 3. Let's go on, and this now bows nicely the right way round with a back bow on the bottom C. But now we're backwards. And that's the shame, I think. So I'm inclined to, on the second crotchet of 10, that will come out back. And then, how about another forward bow? There's plenty of stuff going on in the tenor part. I think you could definitely phrase that. So that little extra forward bow sounds intentional at the start of 11. So I'm doing bar 10, back bow on the second crotchet, which is how it will come out. And then another forward. Quite a lot of crotchets in here that are short and light and lifted. So that the 1 in 10 is a good example. But then this pair, just short, not on the string. If you stop the bow on the string, you'll get a really dead sound. Not very subtle, is it, if you stop the bow on the string? So I'm not taking it off. I think what I'm doing is stopping literally just before it comes off the string. So I'm still connected, but only by half a hair. And then you've got to make sure you're in really good contact with the string when you start the note. I think that's how you get resonant but short and lifted crotchets. Let's play from the second crotchet of 10, which is going to be a back bow. but only a little back bow. 3, 4, 1. This comes out nicely. So does this. So each of these ones that starts crotchet, dotted crotchet, you want to start them on a back bow. You want the crotchet to be really light, and then plenty of contact on the dotted crotchet. So completely different feel from your right hand as to whether the bow is kind of lifted and airy and light, or whether it's really connected to the string. This is bar 12 after the crotchet rest. 1 and 2. Might put another back bow here actually. There's such different shaped crotchets, aren't they? The first crotchet of 14 is just a nothing. It's the end of that. But the next F is a really forward moving, light, lively and lifted upbeat into the next bit. So you're really working hard with this hand, even though the notes are tiny and they pass by really quite quickly. There's a lot to do with this funny old stick in our right hand. Let's go from 12 again, and this time with the intention of going on. 12 from after the rest. 1 and 2. That wasn't very clean, was it? But I was going for a 4th finger in 15. I didn't hit it very tidily, but I think it's preferable to hitting the top string and then having to get all the way back to the G in the next at the next phrase. So 1, 2, 4 at the start of 15. After the rest in 16 needs to be a back bow in order for all of this bows out quite nicely if you start on a back bow. That's in 16 after the rest. And I think those minimums can have a little bit of, they're sort of bell-like shape. I think if they're too solid, doesn't sound terribly like a swallow, does it? If they're really short, too much. But a little bit of, so the energy in the note is at the front and it sort of dissipates as you go through the minim. Fingering wise in 16, you need different fingers, doesn't matter which ones, but you need different fingers for the G and the C. So that might be a 2 and a 3. Occasionally I've found myself with a 3 and a 4. And I think on the treble, actually, that chordal fingering with 3 and a 4 can be really useful because our 4th finger is smaller. So this whole problem of, oh, there isn't space, I haven't got space to put 2 and 3. Well, fine, use 3 and 4 then, because 4 is only little. So there, that fits really nicely and actually better, potentially, than that. Just consider it. I think a lot of people have 4th finger phobia, but he's very useful sometimes for just because he's little. This is 16 then. And here's another. The last pair of quavers in 18. You can't. It's just not allowed. So 2 different fingers for the C and the G. And then the fingering works out, I think. It's a little bit nippy, that bit. Let's go from 16 after the crotchet rest. Just nice and steady after 2. 1 and 2. Should we go on? Stop there a second. So in 20, I think you can choose, do you like the top string? It's quite nice to have the brightness of it. I wouldn't do it for all of them though. I think just gets a bit much. So if you like the top string for starters, fine. But I would at least cover the last one in there. You might decide you like the whole lot on the A string. And that's fine as well. Just, it's slightly personal taste about whether or not you like the brightness of your top string, whether or not you trust the brightness of your top string. You've only got to crutch it to get it going. And if you're a bit wary of the fact that it might squeak or it might not speak very well, perhaps put it on the A string. And I think the quavers can be really nice and short. There's good contrast in this between the kind of smallness and the lightness of the birds that are in here, and then the swooping in the quavers that is quite nice to make longer if they move by step. Let's play from 20 for a minute and see how we get on. 20 and 1. I think that needs to be a 4. This is 22. 1 on the F, 2 on the G, 4 on the A, because of the octave. 1 on the bottom A. And I'd be back in half position. Let's do that from 22 after the crotchet rest. 22 after the rest. 2 and 3 and 4. There's some more really nice swooping, really swallow-like patterns in the quavers in 25. Make them nice and long. Hold your third finger down on the G as you go round to the B flat. Let's just do that again, shall we? 22. 22 after the rest with the intention of going on 2 and 3. Oh, I meant to say, sorry, 24. Stopping mid-flow. Just look after the first note in that bar. So you've had, it's a nothing, and the second note, the offbeat note, is the new start, and it needs to be really clean right at the beginning of it. Don't do a viol playing, growing like a tube of toothpaste. Let's do it with a little bit of front at the beginning. Should have said that before. This is 22 again. 22 again after the rest. 2 and 3. Just going to stop there a second because I tucked one little back bow in 26. I put a back bow on the C here, just because it sorts us out nicely for the next bit. this one comes on a back bow. Fingering wise in 26, 7, 8, 28, look out for the C to the F. You cannot use the same finger. Right on the end. Hold the C down, and it'll even be there when you come back to it. Let's play from 26. 26, the last 3 crotchets. In fact, let's not, because the whole point of that is to get the tuck in. Let's go from 25. 25, just to cover that little bit of bowing. 25, it'll be a forward bow, and with a bit of luck, you'll be fairly near the tip. 3, 4. Back. And the same here, another back bow. So I'm putting back bows in places where you would naturally take a breath anyway, and it helps to keep upbeats nice and light, and it brings quavers out the right way round. So that other one was in 30. On the second crotchet of 30, you want a back bow. And that's another place where there are 4 crotchets at the beginning of that bar, but they are such different shapes. So the one at the start of 30 is the end of that, and it's an absolute nothing. But the second one is a really important moving on. So totally different amount of contact with the string, totally different amount of bow, although they look like 2 identical crotchets at the start of 30, completely different shape. Let's go from the end of 26. End of 26, the last 3 crotchets, starting on a back. 2 and 3. Should we play it through from the top? Not too quick. Lots to think about. I'll count you in. 1, 2. here goes with a tenor part for you to play along to then. I'll count you in, even though I start, because otherwise you'll have no idea how long my first note is going to be. Here we go. 3, 4.